Have you ever looked at someone you love and realized you're completely alone in the room? Like you're fighting for a version of them that only exists in your head, hoping today is the day they finally see you? Today, I want to talk about something that most of us have crawled through at least once, or maybe you're stuck in the middle of it right now. I'm talking about that agonizing space where you love someone with everything you have, but deep down, that quiet voice that you keep trying to drown out is telling you they aren't the one. We live in a culture that tells us love conquers all. We watch movies, read books, and listen to songs that tell us if we fight hard enough, if we compromise enough, if we wait out the storm, everything will magically fall into place. But nobody teaches us how to recognize when the storm isn't a passing phase, when the storm is actually just the climate of the relationship. Let's talk about the almost relationship. This is the one where on paper it makes sense, or maybe in the beginning, it felt like lightning in a bottle. You have the same sense of humor, you share mutual friends, and when things are good, they're spectacular. It's those spectacular moments that act as a trap. They become the currency you use to pay for weeks of neglect, emotional unavailability, or constant anxiety. Think about the mental energy you expend trying to decode a text message. You sit there with your friends analyzing a three-word response like it's a piece of ancient literature. Well, they said see you later instead of can't wait, but they use an explanation point, so maybe they're just busy at work, you say. Let's be honest with each other right now. If they wanted to clear up the confusion, they would. When someone is right for you, you don't need a map and a flashlight to find their affection. It's just there. It's accessible. This brings us to the concept of the investment trap. Economists call it the sunken cost fallacy. It's the idea that you should keep pouring time, energy, and resources into something that isn't working simply because you've already invested too much into it. You tell yourself, I can't leave now, we've been together for 3 years, or if I walk away, all that pain was for nothing. But staying with the wrong person for another 6 months just means you've wasted 3 years and 6 months. The time is going to pass anyway. The question is whether you want to spend that time feeling unseen, or if you want to use it to reclaim your own life. Let's look at the signs we intentionally ignore. We ignore the way they dismiss our achievements. We ignore the fact that they only want to hang out on their terms. We ignore the subtle, sinking feeling in our stomach when they look at their phone and flip the screen down on the table. Why do we do this? Because facing the truth means facing the ending, and endings are terrifying. They require us to go back to an empty bed, to rewrite our routines, and to explain to our families why that person won't be at Thanksgiving this year. We choose the familiar ache over the unfamiliar freedom because the familiar ache feels manageable. You know how to navigate their bad moods. You know exactly what script to read when they start pulling away. It's a dance you've memorized, even if the music is making you miserable. But I want you to consider the cost of that familiarity. Every day you spend trying to convince someone to value you is a day you are actively devaluing yourself. You're teaching your own brain that your needs are optional. You're training yourself to be small so someone else doesn't feel crowded. Have you ever noticed how your personality changes when you're with the wrong person? You start out vibrant and confident and full of opinions. Slowly, as the months roll on, you become hyper-vigilant. You start editing your thoughts before you speak. You ask yourself, if I say this, will I start an argument? If I express disappointment, will they call me dramatic or needy? When you reach a point where you're editing your authentic self just to keep the peace in a relationship, you aren't in a partnership anymore. You're essentially in a hostage situation where your joy is the ransom. The hardest truth to swallow is that someone can be fundamentally good and still be entirely wrong for you. They don't have to be the villain just for you to leave. They don't have to cheat on you or lie to you or mistreat you to justify an ending. Sometimes the compatibility just isn't there. Sometimes their capacity to love matches your need to be loved like a puzzle piece from a completely different box. And that's nobody's fault, it's just kind of reality, but treating it like a personal failure keeps you stuck in a loop of trying harder at a game that was rigged from the start. Let's dissect what happens when we stay for too long. This is where the heavy lifting happens, and unfortunately, you're the only one doing the lifting. When you're with the wrong person, the relationship functions on an uneven axis. You become an amateur psychologist, a personal cheerleader, a manager, and a safety net all at once. You find yourself explaining their poor behavior to your friends. You become an advocate for the defense in a trial where the partner is constantly accused of negligence. And who is a prosecutor? Your own intuition. Let's talk about the specific mechanics of accommodation. It starts with small concessions. They don't like the music you listen to, so you stop playing it in the car. They find your friends annoying, so you stop seeing your friends as much, or you only see them alone. They don't like to plan things in advance, so you become completely inflexible, waiting around until Saturday afternoon just for the chance to be able to see them that night. What you're doing is shaving off your edges to fit in a box they built for you. But here's the tragedy. No matter how small you make yourself, that box will just never feel comfortable, because the issue isn't your size. The issue is the box itself. When the bare minimum feels like a luxury, you are in a spiritual poverty. Why do we stay in this cycle of accommodation? Because we're terrified of the alternative. The alternative is facing the void. It's the realization that if we stop doing the heavy lifting, the relationship will collapse. And that's a terrifying test to run. Most people don't want to run that test because they already know the answer. They know if they stop texting first, the conversation will die. They know if they stop planning dates, they will never see each other. They know if they stop holding the bridge together with their bare hands, it will fall into the river. So instead of running the test, you just keep holding the ropes. Your hands are bleeding, your back is breaking, and you're exhausted to your bones. But you tell yourself, look how strong I am, look how much I love them. But that isn't love, that's codependency. That's control disguised as devotion. You're trying to control the outcome of a situation by sacrificing your own well-being. You believe that if you're perfect enough or patient, or sacrifice enough, you can alter the fundamental reality of who they are and how they feel about you. But you can't. You can't love someone into loving you back. You can't respect someone into respecting you back. Relationships aren't vending machines where you can insert a specific amount of effort and get a guaranteed product out of the bottom. Sometimes you put everything you have into the machine and it just takes your coin and stays empty. How do we walk out of a room where we're completely alone? We have to go through the process of reclamation, claiming your time, your identity, and your peace. Breaking up with someone who isn't right for you is a unique kind of grief because you aren't just mourning the person. You're mourning the dream you had of them. You're mourning the trips you didn't take, the house you didn't buy, the kids you didn't have, the life you drew up in your head during those quiet moments. You have to allow yourself to cry for that dream. It's a real loss, but don't mistake the grief for a sign that you made the wrong decision. Feeling sad after walking away from someone doesn't mean you should go back. It just means you actually cared. Pain is a natural byproduct of growth. When a bone heals, it aches. When a muscle grows, it tears first. When you leave the wrong person, the silence can be deafening at first. Your phone doesn't buzz with those agonizing notifications, but it also doesn't buzz with the predictable ones. Routine is broken. You might find yourself sitting on your bed at 7 p.m. on a random Tuesday wondering what to do with your hands, because usually this was the hour you spent worrying or waiting. Use that silence. Lean into it. The silence isn't emptiness. It's freedom, it's space that belongs to you now. It's space where you don't have to walk on eggshells. It's where you can play your music and see your friends, or just lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling without having to explain your mood to anyone else. This is where you rebuild your standards. And to be clear, standards aren't a laundry list of superficial traits. They aren't height or salary or style. Real standards are about how you expect to feel when you are in someone's presence. As I wrap up today's video, I want to leave you with one final thought. Walking away from someone you love because they aren't right for you is one of the highest forms of self-respect possible. It's an act of courage. It's telling yourself that you can trust your future more than you trust the fear of your past. It's going to hurt for a while. You're going to have nights where you want to text them, where you remember a joke that only they would understand, or where the loneliness feels like a physical weight on your chest. When those moments come, let them pass. Don't fight them, but don't act on them either. Remind yourself why you left the room in the first place. Remind yourself of the person you became when you were trying to make it work. And ask yourself if you ever want to see that version of you again. You deserve to be loved completely, not conveniently. You deserve someone who shows up for you without being begged, who listens to you without being distracted, and one who makes you feel safe instead of anxious. If they can't give you that, then they're simply clearing the path for someone who can. Or better yet, they're clearing the path for you to find yourself again. Thank you for listening to me today. If the video resonated with you, if it feels like the conversation you needed to have, leave a comment, share your story, or just simply leave a sign that you're choosing to be yourself today. We're all walking each other home through this life. Take care of yourself, set your boundaries, and I'll see you in the next video.